Good evening, everybody.
How's everybody doing?
Thanks for joining us at AI Live.
I know. We're excited to be here again. We have a fun topic to talk about because we get a lot of DMs, a lot of questions about this. But we're going to kind of catch up, kind of rehash things that have been going on this last month. Hopefully you guys have had a great April. It's May already.
I can't believe it's already May. It's already May.
I know. And now we're in the little bit of that summer, kind of, hopefully summer is better here in California. It was all rainy. I think it may rain this week.
It's green a little bit. It's at least it's green in California. Usually it's brown.
So
but
my allergies suck.
Everybody's allergies are going crazy here.
Horrible. To the point I think I rubbed myself and gave myself a little skin infection from rubbing so much.
And then the occlusion.
I know. It's not a great
we'll
year
talk about that later.
Anyways, but quickly, I mean, what have you been up to?
Since our last AI Live, I've been everywhere. I think, let me see, I was at, I went to Arthur Swift's master class, and I've been wanting to do that for years. Just finally got a chance to go and listen to the master and really listen. You kind of get to peek in at his brain and how he thinks about what he does. And I think no matter what, if we agree with someone or if we don't, you can still highly respect them. And I picked up pearls that are going to be great pearls, and I think it'll be awesome. And did that, and then we had our Benev triple threat webinar.
Oh,
we had that. So we did a triple threat webinar. That was a live webinar, and we went through all different exosomes and silphium and all different kinds of stuff on a weekend.
Favorites.
And then last weekend I was in Austin, Texas, lecturing and teaching, and then I'm leaving for Boston on Thursday morning for Modern BeautyCon. So my bag's not unpacked.
So you guys can follow her in Boston.
Follow me in Boston, yeah.
What did I do?
What have you do? What have you done?
Oh,
you were always going somewhere.
I overbooked myself with trainings.
Yes, you did.
I did trainings like on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I had literally honestly worked like almost 14 days straight. Not a good thing. No. This is probably why I need an assistant to help organize my life. It's not a good thing when you don't have a single day off. You see patients and then you're doing trainings, and then the trainings are 12-hour days, and life is literally rolling through quickly. And then I leave tonight. I go to Taiwan. I'm going to be speaking at AMWC on threads and fillers, and so I'll be there for a couple of days. I'll be there for, literally like 4 days, really, and then I'm back by Monday.
That'll be fun. Oh my gosh.
So, this month is going by very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, and it's coming up. Our conference, all of our conferences are coming up kind of quickly now. So we've got July, the Aesthetic Show.
July Aesthetic. September is going to be
Aesthetic Next in Dallas. Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff kind of coming up. So it's always summertime is fun for conferences. So we hope we see you guys out there. So.
I know. We decided that this would be a great topic to really talk about is so you want to be an aesthetic provider. What is it all about? What are we jumping into when you are getting into the field of aesthetic medicine? Because it's a wide, expansive field.
It is, and it's cowboy land. There aren't a lot of rules or guidelines. There's not
no
a lot
roadmap
out there.
There honestly is no roadmap.
Yeah.
I mean, because even with doctors, from my standpoint, coming out there when I speak to residents, because I do deal with residents, I tell them that nobody, even in plastic surgery, even in dermatology, they don't actually have a roadmap on what aesthetic medicine is. Plastic surgeons do plastic surgery. Dermatologists deal with the study of derm stuff. And therefore, it makes it a lot more murky as far as who's getting into this, who can get into this, how do I get into it? Because there honestly is no roadmap. It literally is, I'm going to take that course because somebody said it was a great course, and you do it, and then hopefully you learn something from it. It speaks to you and how your learning process is. And then honestly, it's time on tissue.
Right.
A lot
Right.
of time on tissue, a lot of getting in there and starting to make your mistakes, but hopefully making it with someone precepting you, watching you, mentoring you. And so this is kind of where we created aesthetic immersion out of is the fact of trying to help people get mentored. Both her and I have been training for a long time. We trained from our clinics, from all of our clinics, and
The residents, remember?
I mean,
Years
yeah,
ago.
I mean, we got the residents into it. We got our own brand new nurses, brand new PAs and Ps that literally started with us, and we trained them
Yeah.
from scratch in doing it. Nowadays, it's a lot different of a ball game because we're coming in a little bit more of a not mature stage in the aesthetic field, but a little bit more mature that a lot of us that have bigger practices don't necessarily sometimes have time to get to train a lot of these new newbies, which I know everyone's asking, well, how do I gain experience? If people want experience and I can't get the
Where do I
experience,
get
it's
it?
like a catch-22 cycle because I need the experience so that I can get the better job or get the better trainings and learn and stuff like that. So that's what this
Yeah,
is all about. So ask questions as we're going along through this because that's the only way we're going to know how to gear this talk about how to get into aesthetics because we're going to talk from our standpoints, how we got into it, and then go from there.
Yeah, it was really different, like 16 years ago when
Oh.
you hired me,
I know.
when I knew nothing. I went to him one day to get Botox, and then now here I am. But 16 years later, and a good friendship later.
Yes.
But I think that nowadays it's very different because there's so much more available in education. We didn't have any. We didn't have anatomy. We didn't have studies. There wasn't a lot of research. We'd never heard of Hylenex.
Nope.
We didn't know about inclusion. So now getting into it, yeah, you need to know more because we've learned a lot in the last 15 or 16 years. So you do need to go to courses and learn a lot about this. If someone hires you and they train you on site, you probably will never learn as much as you would learn in a I know you won't, in a full comprehensive course because a lot of the docs that might want to kind of train you, they don't know some of this stuff. So it's really important that you get a comprehensive education. The other thing is, if you're leaving the hospital, and we get a lot of internal med docs, OBs, we get a lot of nurses from the hospital, PAs that want to leave acute care and go into aesthetics. Make sure you're going into aesthetics for the right reason.
Yep.
Make sure you're not going into aesthetics for the money. It needs to still be for the patient. We're still providers first.
Yeah.
So that patient has to be our priority. And what I would recommend is find a provider you like that you might gel with, look on Instagram, whatever, and spend a day with them. Shadow. You might have to pay them to shadow them, but follow them in their whole day. See how they converse with patients. See how speedy the day is. What are they doing? And is it something you might want to do and learn more in? So before you invest a lot of money in education, I would say probably try to shadow somebody and kind of see if it's something you might like. There's a lot more to aesthetics than what you think. And when you start to take a very comprehensive course, you might be a little overwhelmed, like, whoa, I thought it was just Botox.
Oh, no. I mean, that's like,
much more.
I remember in college, I mean, I get reached out by students in college saying, hey, can I follow you as a doctor
Right.
to see what it is to be a doctor? I'm like, well, I am a little different. I am family medicine by training, but I don't do any family medicine. So, but ultimately, it really, really kind of is opening your eyes to seeing what you're interested. The glitz and glam of this field is great. They're fun. You can make some big changes on people. But at the end of the day, you still need to understand the science. It's still medicine. It's a lot of education. And it's really the hardest thing is that it's education that's out there that you need to go search for. There's no roadmap on what you need to learn and how you're supposed to learn it. We are trying it through the school to try and create a little bit more of a curriculum on the aspect of it, but even then, this field is so expansive that you can start one thing and then you're into another thing, into another thing, into another thing, and you can get lost very, very easily. So, take them in chunks and don't overstep yourself. Really kind of get good at what you are the base foundation and then kind of grow from there is really the important thing with regards to this field because it gets very, very, very I I guess it gets very hard for newbies because I look at it where I grew out from this industry, and as Lori said, we didn't know. I honestly, I was still a resident when I first opened my first practice. I was lucky; I had some amazing PA friends, and they kind of ran with it and kind of grew the business. But back then, you have to realize it was one Botox, one filler, and it was mostly lasers. So laser hair removal was super popular about 18, 19, 20 years ago. And nowadays it's been commoditized into, yeah, upper lip is like $5, $9,
Yeah.
and so we've definitely evolved in the industry, and things have become better, and we're a lot safer because we know a lot more stuff. But ultimately, wow, the foundation you need to build is really, really important.
It really is. Shannon asked a question. I wanted to let you know that the difference between our Foundations of Advanced Aesthetics course that we offer here at our clinic and the one that the Aesthetic Show is a little bit more abbreviated. So the CME hours that are required are shorter. I think it might be 4. And the one for the course here is probably 10 or 12 hours long. And then the course at the Aesthetic Show and Aesthetic Next, you don't get to inject. You get to listen and play with models and syringes and work on dexterity and all kinds of fun stuff, and then watch a lot of us inject some of the patients. So it's quite a bit different. It's a little bit more abbreviated, so it's not as comprehensive, but it's good information that a lot of people still don't know. So,
Right.
yeah.
So we're getting some questions. As far as for us training as a beginner, what class would you recommend? Of course, we're going to recommend our Foundations of Advanced Aesthetics course is a really strong course. Definitely, if you want the hands-on portion to really get the feel of it and all that, it really is coming into our school here in California, in Brea, and really getting into it, because we really do guide you. We handhold you through it. Sometimes I grab the practitioner's hands, and we're doing it together so that you can get a feel for the tissue. Because until you get the feel for the tissue, what does it feel like to inject on bone? What does it feel like to inject through tissue? You really, really don't. It doesn't click. You could watch all the videos you want. I mean, this is one where you can keep watching, but until you have a good understanding of what it is to inject and feel the tissue,
Yes.
knowing where you are, knowing how it pushes, knowing how to hold a syringe properly, the finesse of it all. Once you get to that point, then you're considered, to me, an intermediate injector. Then you can start going into more advanced trainings, watching people doing their different techniques and say, that sounds good. What's going on there? Why are they doing that? What's going on anatomically? And really work it out on your own, where you can figure it out without needing someone to handhold you through that. So I think the first 2 years is a lot of handholding, doing courses that really get you hands-on experience, whether it is going through our foundations or whether it is doing a private training with somebody, but making sure that you really are getting hands-on is really important. And I would say, the next question is like recommended training for advanced injectors. How long do you think an RN can start injecting?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think with our course, I tell the RNs, start injecting right
Go,
away.
yeah.
Go.
While
'Cause-
you get the feel of it in the course and you're injecting a real patient with real fillers in a course, go do it right away before you lose your confidence. Because
Yes.
you understand it's not water, it's a jelly you're injecting, and it feels differently, and watching the tissue expand, and there's so many different things to kind of watch and coordinate that we want you to go out there and start doing it. So if you're an RN and you have a license in your state to inject, then once you take the course and you find somebody that can help, hopefully like mentor you, get out there and get a couple syringes and bring a family member in and do it. It's time on tissue. The more you inject, the more comfortable you become. Just know you're never going to be 1000% comfortable.
Yep.
And that little edge of like, I want to be extra careful should always be there. Don't ever get overconfident, because that's when you might run into issues.
Yeah, like newer injectors, one of the things I really, really emphasize is trying to take a course that allows you to get the feel for the tissue. And then beyond that is starting to find a job. Don't look at it as like I'm going to jump all in and ditch my old job and do this. Keep your regular job, work hard at it, learn what it is to feel, touch, whatever it is. By finding a clinic that you think can help you grow, that you want to maybe establish foundations for, and talk to them. Maybe you don't get paid as a nurse. Maybe you get paid as an MA.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't get paid at all. But take the advantage and learn. I mean, I look at it as an internship, a residency type of a thing. Well, doctors understand this because when we graduate medical school, we go and work in the hospital. We don't get paid very much. It's like, I remember I got paid $45,000 for that first year interning at UCLA. I was working 80 to 100 hours. That's not really getting paid. That's just sufficing. But I came out on the end 3 years later, much more confident, knowing what I'm doing, knowing my abilities. And that's kind of how you have to look at it nowadays, because there are so many. You guys are coming in at a little bit more of a mature stage in the aesthetic field. When we were starting, it really was not like that. We were all learning at that point in time. Now we have so much more information. You can jump leaps and bounds ahead of where we were and how many years it's taken us to get to our level of injecting. You can do it very much quicker, but you need to spend the time. You need to spend the effort reaching out to someone local and working almost for free. Like, tell them, I'll be a medical assistant on the side. I want this so that I can start injecting. And, maybe it's once a week that you'll get to inject for an hour or 2 hours. Start off with toxins, which are easy. Start off with lasers. And then slowly work into it. But you need to have that gumption to push yourself forward. Nobody's going to drag you along in life, especially in this field. You have to want it. This is why I love what Lori said with regards to just shadowing, paying, whether it's you have to pay or not pay. If you can shadow somebody for a day and really see what it is behind the scenes, what we put out there on Instagram, on a lot of these things out there that you can see through the video are essentially a filter. It's a filtered version of our reality. It's not complete reality.
It's working so hard to get there.
But I mean, just seeing the background, seeing and understanding what it is to be an aesthetic provider and what it entails is really important, and giving yourself time to learn and time to grow, but also immersing yourself. My staff are lucky. Our staff are lucky because when they join us, they get access to our Aesthetic Immersion videos, and I think sometimes they just lose sight of that. And I keep re-emphasizing, hey, you guys need to keep watching, keep educating. That's why we create these videos for them, and a lot of them don't. Sometimes I'm like, you're missing the ballpark sometimes when you're not taking advantage of it and taking advantage of every opportunity. I have one nurse practitioner that will go to any and every training out there. I'm like, you are good.
But she came with me to
I know.
Spa.
And so she will do anything and everything. She looks at it as like, I'm here to learn about anything and everything. I will act like I don't know anything and keep asking those questions of why, which grows her experience and her knowledge base. But ultimately, to me, that first step is getting the right education, getting into a hands-on course to really get hands-on. Ask and make sure that these classes that you're joining in early on are going to include a hands-on course. You can take a didactic, but if you're not really hands-on, like our course, it's 1 hour. You get some toxins, you get 2 or 3 fillers, and you're injecting. And we record it. We record the whole day so you can go back and rewatch it. But, making sure that you actually are getting that hands-on experience is, to me, critical. Because without that hands-on experience, you really, really miss out. You can learn all the knowledge you want, but it really is, you get taught one, you do one, and then you're almost in medicine, teach one. See one, do one, teach one is what medicine has always been taught to me in a sense. And it's like, some people I call it the failure to launch.
You have to push them go.
They take all these courses and take all these courses and take all these courses, and they don't feel comfortable enough. Sometimes you just need to just say, okay, I have a good enough foundation. Let me go. But really, honestly, getting in within a clinic system or some kind of hands-on experience to grow your experience, grow your level of hands-on experience is really what's going to jump you leaps and bounds ahead.
I think we hear a lot of practitioners, providers come in, and we are not the first course they've taken. And they've gone to several other courses. And we hear comments constantly about how we are different and how much more they learned in our didactic and in our courses. We didn't know when we developed the information, when we shared every pearl, the good and bad that we've done in the videos to help you guys learn. We didn't know how much we would cover that maybe other places didn't cover. The reason I'm saying this is I want you to vet any programs you go to. Make sure that they're accredited. At least that makes that lets you know that the school has gone through certain hoops and they have valid information that's going to help you, and you're going to have probably a little bit higher level of education if they've gone to the work of getting accredited. So I just wanted to make sure you kind of look at that. Some websites look fancy, they look great, and they say they're going to give you a board certification. That's fake. It's not a board certification unless it's something from a governing body, and the governing body can't be that school. Like we can't board certify anybody. So make sure you watch for that kind of stuff. Okay. You can always get a certificate of completion, which is fair, but be careful about when they say they're going to certify you.
Yeah, there's no certification yet. We're hopefully there's something in the future that can at least somehow guarantee that there's some level of experience, some level of knowledge base before people get certified. But at this point in time, certification really is here. Your certificate of completion that you've done a course, that you've been educated, but there is no competency with regards to that.
Yeah,
is really what goes along with that.
That might be knowledge, but it's not expertise.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, like Vanessa, you're saying tapping on the bone is an experience for sure. Yeah, Vanessa, it was, right? You tap on the bone, you're like, it's like tapping on drywall. When you first do that, it's kind of.
Do you have any other questions, guys? Just because I know the other one with question answer, this is the chat page.
So you guys, we have the question and answer. So chat with us because we're kind of watching a TV to let us know what your questions are. So we have that.
There was one there. During PA here, my SPA is very supportive of me learning this, but any suggestions how to propose cutting out time in my schedule to book citations to build that part of my clientele? That is a hard one. I mean, that honestly is really kind of going above and beyond because you are trying to do something within the scope of what you are doing as far as a derm PA versus actually doing into aesthetics, being an aesthetics PA. I think part of that is carving out and maybe working an extra day, but doing it as not part of being a derm PA, looking as keeping it as a separate thing. I mean, it is something where you can even talk to them and propose cutting time out of the schedule for sure, maybe 2 hours just to work on something that you want to start perfecting, whether it's toxins to start off with and build that aspect of it, and then slowly add in the fillers and then other things with regards to that. And then you can slowly block off a whole day where now you're bringing them in a whole day of aesthetic patients. But I mean, honestly, even as a derm PA, you could literally work for the derm and then find somebody else in your area that owns a more medical spa that you can really learn and literally be a fly on the wall, be more of a supportive staff member there so you can really learn from them. Yeah, you're working extra hard. You know, people look, oh, I'm working already 5 days. Well, maybe it's something where you can cut a day off of those or work a longer 4-day schedule, knowing that you're going to spend that 5th day working on the field of aesthetics. Because if this is what you really want to do and this is your passion, because you know this is where you want to take your career, then you're going to spend extra time and effort doing it.
I was going to that's what I did. When Dr. Kwok said, he would hire me, I kind of went over to one of the clinics just a couple days a week because I still worked in family practice 3 days a week. So I kind of did 2 days in aesthetics, kind of see what it was like, dip my toe in it, kind of learn more about it. And I kept my 3 days in family practice because I was afraid to give up family practice because there's so much I needed to know, guidelines and such. And then it ended up that I loved aesthetics so much. And the patients, it was a happy place. The patients were happy. We still got to educate. It was just it was a great environment that after about 9 months or so, I totally stopped family practice and I've never looked back. And I've been super, super happy. So, but I did both. So if you can kind of, start a day a week or a couple days a week and kind of wean on off, wean off your other job, wean onto the aesthetics and see what you like, see if you really like it a lot. And it's, it'll make your decision for you.
I mean, Joanna, that's exactly. You took a 6-day course. Don't have a job in the field yet. Recommend continuing to take core classes. It does get pricey, but ultimately, this is where I would probably say you took a 6-day course. Hopefully, it's including some hands-on experience where you really got in there and got hands-on. That's where I probably say it would be something where you can potentially start to reach out to different places in your area that are medical spa or they are derm plastics offices that do a lot of aesthetic medicine and what you're looking for, and offer yourself to them, whether it is even just being a fly on the wall, being a medical assistant, or just working for free. I actually did that with one of my patients that was one of my nurses, and she came in and took one of our courses, and then she continues to see me, and she's like, "Hey, can I just follow you? I'll be your medical assistant and not." I don't want to get paid, but I just want to learn from you. And, I told her we can do a few days, try that out and see how it is and see where that goes. So there are a lot of people that out there that will love extra help. I mean, our med spas sometimes get busy, and having that extra help where you are kind of the fly on the wall, just following us around, does help us out in a sense, but you're getting education, and then you can kind of trade off and say, hey, is it after a little bit of time, hey, I've watched you a while, can I bring in a friend and you watch me inject blah, blah, blah. I tell my practitioners who want to learn more areas or more different things, hey, I'm staying here. If you let me know ahead of time one day, I'll stay back an hour and work with you on what you want to work on. And so, this is where it's a give and take. It can't be, take. I took this course. Now you have to give me a job. Now you have to pay me a certain amount. You guys have to realize you have no skill set.
You're starting at the bottom again.
Skill set. Whether you're a doctor, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a nurse practitioner, PA jumping into this field, you have zero skills. Zero skills. One of the doctors that used to work with me, she actually, after she finished residency in family medicine, she actually worked for a derm for free for 2-3 months and did urgent care on the side to pay for her bills. And then she ended up coming back to me because she did do a little shadowing while she was in medical school. And I ended up hiring her. And then I kept teaching her more and more and more from that. And that's kind of how I think it goes. Somebody says, hi, Lori.
Oh, hi, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany.
But, this is where I think people assume just because I took a course, now somebody's going to hire me. And I will definitely tell you, there's a lot of nurses out there. There's a lot of PAs, NPAs, and people that are trying to get into this field. And you're going to be a step ahead of them to show that you've put some money into your education, but you definitely have to gain the experience. And the experience only comes when you put yourself out there and really, really invest your time into honing your craft. Don't look at it as like, why am I not getting paid? Look at it as that time you're putting into it as building your portfolio, building your own education by getting hands-on, because without the hands-on experience, you're not going to do it. Yeah. You can go to as many courses as you want. You can go to tons of conferences. There's nothing that's going to get you to that next level.
And keep in mind, there might be some clinics that will hire you on as an apprentice. So it might be a very low rate per hour, but they're willing to train you. But so many providers have been burned by putting hours and hours into somebody who says they want to learn, and they learn, and then they go open their own clinic and they don't stay. So sometimes it's hard, and providers can get kind of disheartened because it takes a lot of energy and time and money to train somebody. So there might be some kind of an agreement, depending on the state, that you're responsible for hours of training or some kind of compensation or something like that. So just kind of be aware that coming from experienced provider's viewpoint, there might be something they require of you if you're going to learn a lot from them. So just kind of know.
No, I think it's a good trade-off. I mean,
Yeah.
coming from owning a business, I will definitely say, I've had practitioners who I've trained a lot. I put a lot of effort into it. I put a lot of heart, blood, and sweat into training them, and they get good, and they finally get to where you're like, okay, they're great.
I can let them fly on their own.
I let them fly on their own. They're starting to do great, and then they're like, yep, I'm fine, I'm good now, and they literally leave you. And so this is where you guys have to understand why the field is so in flux with bringing on new practitioners and getting you trained and stuff like that, is because there are a lot of us that have done a lot of great trainings for our practitioners, and you could say, yeah, they screwed it up for the industry because they literally learned all they could from you, and then they're like, bye, I'm going down the street to open up my clinic. And yeah, it's great for them, but what about me, I'm going to say, who spent extra hours of my day training you up and really getting you to that foundation, that level that you are at to do that. That's money out of my pocket, time out of my life that I don't have, that I can't get back, that I put into you. And you guys have to look into that and take into account that these businesses are not there just for you guys to be stepping stones for them. If you find a place that you work with, it is nice and reasonable to say, hey, if you train me, I have no problems working for you. It's kind of like going to the military. They're going to pay for your schooling. You're going to guarantee that you're going to work with the military for 4 years afterwards. I mean, it's kind of where you guys have to somehow figure out a right balance for you and your situation. And honestly, some people, we'll see where the economy takes us, but some people who think that they're better than they are just because they now can do a Botox and now do a filler, that I'm going to open my own clinic, we'll see, because the economy is going to hit us. And when the economy's good, anybody can open the door and hang a little flag out and say, I can do Botox, and people will come.
Yeah.
But when the economy starts to take a dive, this is where, practitioners who really are solid with their skill set, solid with what they can do, solid with their business plans, are going to survive. And this is where the industry is going to have its ups and downs. It's a great industry. Don't discount that.
It's awesome.
It's a beautiful industry. You make some big impacts on patients' lives. You make a big impact in the medical lives of your patients. But ultimately, it's not as easy as it's not all glitz and glam.
It's not. I mean, it's not. And if I think that there's this thing called a Dunning-Kruger curve, and it's kind of like when you're brand new, you have all the confidence in the world, and then once you start learning something, you're like, oh, your confidence drops. And it takes a long time to get your confidence back up. And that's so true in the aesthetic industry, is that I see people come and they do a weekend course or a few days of a course, and they're like, good, I'm going to open my own clinic. And it's like, we know when we've been doing this for years that you are no more ready than a fly on the wall to open your own clinic and be safe. I think our main concern is safety for the patients.
Yep.
That's our concern, is that we want you to be so knowledgeable that you are going to really know how to be safe and how to assess for any problems, and just be the best provider you can be. But that takes a lot of education. That takes time. That takes knowledge. That takes the willingness to learn. So I think it's really important. One thing I wanted to mention was, when you select a mentor or somebody to teach you, I need you to make sure that you pick somebody who does this full time, not somebody who does aesthetics as a part-time gig. So you might find somebody who does ER 3 days a week and they do aesthetics 2 days a week. I would say probably try to pick somebody who does it full time, and they've done so for quite a while, and they're going to be probably a good mentor for you. I don't care about the degree. It could be derm or plastic, could be whatever. A person who works in intensive care and they only work aesthetics a couple days a week. But make sure that they do it full time, irregardless of degree. And I think that'll help you in the long run get a better knowledge base and education with this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so, we focused on beginning. I think beginning is great. I think as you move into more of an intermediate stage, this is kind of comes down to where do you learn? How do you really continue to navigate? I mean, there's so many different educational opportunities, from webinars to clinic trainings to private trainings to conferences. What are your thoughts with regards to all of those? Like, well, where do you people swim through the waters for that are now saying, okay, I can inject, I want to move into the next level. How do I continue my educational process? Because you're going to be in clinics that some of you guys are going to be blessed and be in clinics where they really do take you to the next level, and they walk you and you guide you, and they really are hand holding you. And then other ones of you guys are going to join smaller clinics that really the medical person isn't even there, the medical physician isn't even there. And you kind of almost are free flowing because it's a business owner that owns the practice, and they really aren't in it for the right reasons, but you're there and you have to be the practitioner. What do you say to those people out there?
Well, that's, it's tough. And I think that's what, actually, personally, I think that's what sent me into looking for information, because I worked in the clinic a couple of days a week for the first 3 months, and then your PA went off on a problem with the pregnancy. So I was by myself after 2 days a week for 3 months. So I went to conferences, I read books. There wasn't as much available as there is now, but I went out and got as much information as I could so I could be as safe as possible. And that kind of sent me into that trajectory of constantly looking for information, asking why, how do I do this, how do I do this? So I think you need to try to get information. PubMed has good research. You need to look for the latest research articles, read journals, JDD. There's all different kinds of journals that have good published data. And the conferences, some of the conferences are excellent. Some are more geared towards other specialties. Some are just geared towards medical aesthetics. Some have more business. Some have more hands-on type information. So go to the conferences and hop in on the different lectures that you want to learn. Is going to help you. I think it ultimately will take time on tissue. It takes the feel of what you're doing. That's the paramount.
It really is.
Cadaver courses are paramount once you kind of get a little experience.
I think if you're early on, cadaver course is still a little too
overwhelming.
It really is overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think until you start to feel the tissue, what it is to hit the bone, and then be able to inject into that area, don't do a cadaver course. I know it's what we all talk about, but until you have a reason to do it, so that you can start to flip open this area and understand, why are you scared of injecting this area? What's going on in this area that you've been injecting? I don't think it's proper to do a cadaver course, because we'll go to people who are early. I've seen it where they go to cadaver course, they're just sitting there hacking away at that. Oh yeah, I see this, but you can see there's no correlation with anything that they're doing, because they haven't injected enough to know and understand why this is important. The layers, the blood vessels, how it is to inject into this area versus this area, what makes it more difficult in this area versus this area, why am I not getting the results that I am, because I need to inject this area. And so cadaver courses are great. Conferences are great as well. My big thing with conferences is you're not going to get any hands-on experience. So early on, to me, it's doing a hands-on course, and then maybe reaching out to people that you think do good work in your area, or even flying across the country, wherever you want, and doing more private trainings. Getting someone to handhold you through injecting, really feeling it, getting the time on tissue, so it becomes almost an automatic thing of what you're doing, what you're feeling, so that you can really know what to expect out of it.
I would say so you can be a very thoughtful injector.
Yeah.
We want you to be very thoughtful and very gentle, and when we inject, it's Helen Keller method of injecting. You can't see what you're touching. but we want you to learn to feel it and think about what's under there. Really think about what's under there. So that's what we do with our courses. But absolutely, the private trainings, you get 4 to 7 hours of one-on-one with us. So we do that oftentimes. There's a lot of injectors out there that are really good that do private trainings around the country and internationally. So you can hook up with someone like that and really get some really good one-on-one experience. And that's a really good, intensive, long day to learn things. It's good.
Yeah. And remember, when you join a clinic, when they have trainings, they're training you basic things, what it is for this feeler, how it should feel like a little bit. They're not training you on how to inject.
Right.
They're training you on how this filler may fit into a profile, what it feels like, how it's going to respond, and stuff like that. So if you consider those trainings, I personally don't consider those trainings because we both do these types of trainings, and our hands are tied. We have the golden handcuffs. We can talk all we want, but a lot of the off-label areas, a lot of things that we do with it, I sometimes don't even use the way they are FDA approved in my patients. I just have to train the way that it is because that's what FDA approval is for. So realize sometimes when you're listening to these companies put out stuff, whether it is webinars, whether it is trainings and stuff like that, they're great. It gives you a sense of some sort of level of education, but to really, really build into your own career and really expand beyond that is to do things on your own. Going to conferences, once you're stable, you have a base of foundation, that's where you start picking up pearls. Oh, that person talked about that. I'm going to try something. And then maybe that leads you to some other thought pattern of a why that you've been trying to address and figure out. These light bulbs start going off. That's what conferences are for. They're not going to give you this big wow type of a thing. You're not going to get injectable hands-on experience in these conferences because majority of them are too big. They're too expansive. You can't get these hands-on. And so this is why you guys have to think of what is it that makes you tick. How is it that you learn best so that you can create your own plan, your own pathway in the field? You have to understand yourself and be understanding. Just because somebody else says, oh, do this, you have to understand, hey, you know what? I'm a visual person. I need to get hands-on. I'd rather spend more money doing more private trainings with different people or taking our courses that provide you hands-on experiences. Or are you at that level where I can just watch them and I can already make an idea of what I'm going to do. I'm confident where I'm at, and you can already start to inject. This comes down to separating yourself out into the different levels of experience out there.
I agree 1,000% with you. You'll notice that when you first learn to inject, we call it paint by numbers. You are just looking at the syringe and how much you're injecting, and you're just trying to figure out how much do I put in there. And as you get better and better, you start to take your eye off that syringe and your eye goes onto the tissue. And what am I doing with that tissue? How is it responding? So when you kind of get to an area where you've injected a little bit more, then you can go to these conferences where there's somebody up on stage and you can watch them and go, yeah, I can do that because you've done it for a while. Don't expect to do that being a new injector. You need hands-on. You need someone there guiding you for a while, and then get that experience in the clinic for a while. And then once you kind of expand to a little bit more intermediate advanced level, then you can go to those conferences where you can just watch somebody up on stage and see what they're doing and go, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. But it takes a little while to get there.
Yeah, so plan out your budget. It's education is a budget. We spend a lot of money just to get to our level of education, whether you're a nurse or nurse practitioner, PA, physician. You spend a lot of money just to get to this level. Now you're going into a whole complete field that nobody's teaching you out there in all of these regular medical facilities. A hospital is not going to teach you how to do a Botox injection. It's not. You have to go do it on your own. You need to provide your own education for yourself. So you have to look at your budget and say, okay, I'm going to spend a certain amount doing this to really, really harness it. And then this is the reason why. we from our experience and just watching different practitioners through our clinics, through just trainings, it really is hands-on. So if you can get more hands-on in the beginning, this is why I say reach out to different local clinics in your area, try to get in with them to see if they can get you some hands-on experience, but there's a trade-off, because they're still running a business. You guys have to understand it. You're not going to jump from an ICU nurse and get paid an ICU nurse salary,
Right.
in a field that you have zero experience, zero knowledge base, zero skill sets at. This is where we hear all the time, well, I want to get paid this amount. I'm like, well, what kind of skill set do you have? I mean, it's just like
You've been working in ICU for 12 years, so what makes you think you can earn the same thing being a brand new injector? It's
I
kind of
know.
like
It's a hard fact and a hard reality to swallow, but it is also, you could say, a career change for you guys. And so with that career change, don't let go of being an ICU nurse. Continue working ICU nurse. Maybe take a shift less per month so that you can harness that energy to do what you want to do, and find a place where you can maybe just work for $10 an hour, or don't work for any money at all. And that trade-off is you sign a contract. Hey, I'm going to do this, and then maybe I get this. You're going to train me on this, and that's where it comes down to. But you guys have to understand that it's time on tissue, spending money for your education. Don't waste money going to all these conferences, in my opinion, when you're beginning, because it's not going to make any sense. You'll make some great friends. So maybe once a year, choose one conference to go to, just so that you can experience it, get yourself immersed in it, build a community around yourself. But don't spend a lot of time going to every single conference. It's not a show.
I would choose to go to some of the schools and get some of the good either online training or in-person training. We have that. We had a question about the mentorship program. It's a really good. We noticed that a lot of newer and advanced injectors alike didn't have a community that they could trust and learn from, and so that's why we developed the mentorship program, so that you can watch videos again and again and again and learn, and be able to come for a discounted rate to the hands-on courses. So that's why and there's a community, kind of like it's almost like a Facebook community with our mentorship, our mentees, where you can communicate and throw ideas back and forth, and everybody can help each other. So we're so proud of our group because they help each other. We have people who are national trainers, and we have people who are newer in the mentorship community. So it's really a huge help if you're new or if you're advanced, to kind of be in that group, and a safe group to ask questions like, oh my God, I screwed up here, what should I do? And everybody's done that. We learn from our mistakes and we go forward. So that's what our mentorship program does as far as answering that question. So we hope that's what we aimed for.
Yep.
And that's what I think that everybody's getting a lot out of it. So that's good.
And Vanessa, yes, sacrifice to advance.
Sacrifice to advance.
Sacrifice to advance. This is in and of itself in medicine a whole brand new field, and you cannot look at it as something that you're just gonna jump in, take one course, and I'm good at it, and I can go and jack.
We've seen that,
though. Tiffany, yes, the mentorship program is available to Canadians. We actually do have Canadians. We have people from around the
like
world
Brazil and
that join.
Yeah.
It is 100% virtual. We do try to do a Zoom call once a month, which is actually after our AI Live. We typically will jump on it, and we have an hour to really, really kind of just talk and just really, really just help guide people through this. We put in different topics. We
get to see, it's a Zoom call, so we get to see everybody live. It's recorded, but everybody who's awake, we get to see everybody live. So it's fun because we get to hang out with friends. So it's really cool. But
all right.
Oh gosh, we've talked a lot.
I think they're wrapping us up, but
hopefully that helped.
Hopefully that helped.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, you can DM her. No, DM both of us. DM the Aesthetic Immersion. If you have any more questions, the Aesthetic Immersion is here to help. We're here to help guide you guys. So realize, ask away. June 6th is our next episode at 5 p.m. I don't know what our topic is. We'll launch it on the aspect of it. But if you have any questions, learn at theaestheticimmersion.com. You can email us with regards to that. And then jump on our Instagram, jump on our webpage, see what kind of hands-on courses that we have upcoming that are of interest to you. Other than that, Thanks for joining us. We'll
Thanks
see you
for
at the
joining,
next
guys.
AI Live.
Bye-bye.